Hello, and today I thought I'd bring to you the final episode of how to create a web crawler. And so basically, I've finally gone around to creating a web crawler, and as you can see, it's ticking away right here. Uh, as you can see, it's going slowly at the moment. That's because these pages basically trying to protect themselves from robots.txt. Uh, Besides that, it's doing it rather smoothly, getting every single page. And I'll explain to you the process behind it. So let's go ahead and do it. So first of all, you want to start the application. So to start it, I use my start.java, and then I basically loaded both a MySQL instance and also a SQLite instance for optional inherency, because basically I made it so that by flicking a switch in the code I could use the SQLite database instead of the MySQL. Also, when using SQLite, you have to manually create the databases within the code. And so, to do this, first you have to create a connection. And the connection is JDBC SQLite. Now you need two databases for this. The reason for two databases instead of one with two tables is table locking, because you can only insert data so fast in SQLite. Same applies for MySQL, but it has a queue bank in place where data gets queued and it inserts it at will. But with SQLite, it just locks out the entire database and you can't access it. That's not to say if you put in a separate database, a table, then you can access that particular table. So basically we've got the two tables and the two databases. I'll show you what they look like in MySQL. Let's see if I've got this on the right screen. That's one of the index pages. Now this is body. Body.db was this one here, when it's fully indexed. And this here was a page that you saw. Schema is actually quite a good website if you're developing web pages. And links is this one here, just a bunch of links that haven't been indexed yet. Now the reason for links is, say the program crashes, it can retrieve the queue of index links in memory and whack them back in memory again. And for the ones that how did it work? What was it? I'll quickly check the code. As links to database. I'm pretty sure it's at the very bottom. FN contains Here we go. This is the logic for the second array that we deal with, which is like what is it? Contains this, yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, in which is that one there, which checks through body, which then goes around low, which then checks F for N. It contains duplicates. So really that code is unnecessary. It only needs to check the last one or two. But yeah, there you have it. As sloppy as that line there, mate. Well, actually, yeah, that line there maybe. It does work. Because really it should just load through it all and add to out str or rs get length and then validate the first and last one. Anyways, that does verify that everything is good and all by double checking that everything's in order with the synchronization so that nothing's out of whack. Because every so often you may have to reboot it to clear the cache a bit. Because your system's networking cache will get overloaded and your buffer for your networking packets will get overloaded, which means you have to reboot your system as if you're doing it on Windows. And yeah, that's where the C comes into play. Anyways, back to okay. So once you want to create those tables, I created a table function to create these tables. It's a neat one too. You just input whether you want an index on the first column name and the loss of columns. Where is the loss of columns? Hey there. There's one loss there. That's the body one. That's that one there. That's the links one. And you put it into an array. If it's indexed, the first one will be indexed, so link will be indexed. and the table name is body, and so too will the database name be. And same with this one here. Then the SQL pops out when you call the variable create table. You put it into an execute statement under statement, and you catch all the errors. I didn't do that great a job of error production though, but it did the job. And now this is where it comes interesting. The database class. Now this here can be either database MySQL or database SQLite. Both work fine. My preference is database MySQL. But this pops up in 3 separate places. And you have to declare global. Because there's just some wacky codes that MySQL and SQLite have to be done for optimizations. Declare global. That's right at the bottom. So like query cache size 0. Query cache type 0. What's this? Yeah, and which one's gone? I noticed see how there's 2 tables here, so you have 2 variables. Therefore, you have to interlacing same variables here for when you interchange the type, so that it doesn't get confused in the code for the 2 variables of the 2 tables. Next part is there's 2 lists. Where are they defined? Here they are. And they're static too, because you can access them from any class. I believe run is a leftover from another method. I bet you if I delete it, it won't have any side effects. There we go. Now, these two lists, basically, list is the pending queue for, like all the links that are coming up for evaluation and will eventually be searched and seeked for crawling. And other lists is ones that have been crawled and are not to be visited again. Or if it is seen on the page, it is not to go to, because you obviously don't want duplicates. Now, to populate these when you first start up, basically you just look through the database and from that links database I showed you earlier and fill this one with that. The other one you fill with the links column that's not in the links database but is in the body database links column. And then over here, if it's still empty, meaning the database either doesn't exist or is empty, then you just add a random page. In which case I'd Google's crawler bot, which is google.com.au, and then add the GUI. Okay, GUI. The GUI is nothing really fancy. Okay, it starts off with initiating the standard variables for each of the elements, as well as a static variable for yet another list. This one's a different list. If you recall seeing in here, see this white box that just moved? It's actually a list element, a combo list more specifically, and you need to add about 11 elements to it, or 11 rows, depending on how you interpret it. And so to do this, first thing you want to do is initiate the window closing event. What you do for that is start.eta equals false. That initiates the closing sequence for the loop of the processor. and thread dot sleep 480 to give it some time to think. That's about half a second. And system dot exit 0. Now there's a string array threads. At the moment there's only one. I suppose what I should really do is db is that right, or is it the element that needs to be selected? GUI combo. Oh, I got that back to front. SQL. SQL. That should work, I think. And now basically what this drop down is, it'll be MySQL and SQLite. And what we're aiming to do is make it so that you can interchangeably change those actions. So yeah, next is the J button, which is basically adding a start button, then a listener for it. In the listener, we invert the action of star.eta, and if star.eta equals true, set text for the button stop, and open a thread. Now, let's see what have to be. One. Open one thread. It sort of has multi-threading inbuilt, but it's not fully patched up yet. Theoretically, you could have multi-threading enabled. However, you would need multiple MySQL servers on different ports to be like installed on the one server or even multiple servers. And surprisingly, they don't consume that much space. Not space, but that much resources besides space. And so theoretically what you could do is set up a NAS, let's say 500 terabytes or 512 terabytes, and set up about 512 virtual boxes, each containing a OEM of Windows XP or even Linux, which is free, and just install MySQL on each one and use the shared disk space. But that'll be fairly extensive setup though, and for that reason I'm just using the one, or at least until I get further disk space. Then I may reconsider, because I only have about some bay 10 terabyte for Max. So that's 70 terabyte. Although the 20 terabyte hard drives are coming out soon. Which would make 140 terabyte. Or 130 when you get this allocation. But yeah. But at the moment I've filled them up with 4 terabytes, which were my spares. So I'm saving up those pennies for the 20 terabytes when invented. Anyways, back to this. If it doesn't find that ETA equals true, then GUI button has its text set to start again, and its area or location is set to that position and that width and that height. What's this? Yeah, this section of code here deals with when you first open up the client or the web crawler, it'll populate the index with basically that little white box with all the links, and the first one is the first one found in the links database. Then it's the last however many up to 11 in the links to variable. And this is just adding everything to its relevant position. Now the thing that you may not see, which is a trigger event, is where is it? There's a close button, and I'm missing it here. The thread open, and you can set the number of threads as well, but only one thread currently works. So let's get a thread open. So basically it initiates the thread keeper, and it reduces the number by 1. Or when I say reduces the number 1, I mean like somewhere between the below number provided. So say you provided 11 threads, then it'd be somewhere from 0 to 10. And yeah, that's basically it. All of this can actually be deleted. That was debugging information. Thread keeper then is a very important one actually, because it keeps on destroying itself and renewing itself every 8 minutes, or 8 minutes and 1 second actually. So basically, if start the ETA equals true, you can see here again database MySQL. Within all let us see, which is basically signifying to start a new thread and to monitor it, and if it freezes for more than 480 seconds, then to shut it down right over here, and basically then to remove your L from the list, so it gets removed from the list database, and then remove the latest from the in-memory list. Then it leaves the database catch up. Anyways, I've done that. So next would be thread point. This is what gets real interesting. I'm not sure if throws is actually needed, is it? Thought so. Something needs it. And his database again. The third one and final. And we actually get to use entities. Now there's a new infinite while loop while list size is greater than 0. I could have put this in the while loop, but I thought meh. And so I put it in an if statement. And then to prevent certain clashes, added this if statement around the entire thing. Basically what it does is it checks how many body URLs matches, and if it equals 0, then it passes. And it checks how many list 2 contains this, or if it contains this, and if it's true. If it's not true because of that, then and also this, then it passes the whole thing. You can grab the HTML of the page with my entities connect method. Now this is HTML equals en dot URL connect start dot list dot get size. Size is just a thread number. So entities. Says URL connect. And the real code. Actually, I'll see. So, yeah, should be right, I believe. Yeah. Let's see. So those should be. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. There we go. That's neater. What's this? Anyways, as per the new version of the URL connector, basically goes through a series of methods. There's a primary one to try. I'll just make it easier to see. And if that fails, it tries again with a different one. With one of these three. Notice the additional L. So if we come down here, there's the additional L. So it has all the additional caching in there. So you then come to here, because this C refers to URL L connect. And it passes on the same information. And the hardcore code for it is basically set a user agent to Mozilla Firefox's cookie blank, except encoding gzip deinflate, which is Google bots. Allow user interaction, this is important to being true. Open connection. Put this stuff into the header. Accept stuff from only request mode 200 and turn 1 because they're the successful request methods. And like through the stuff and put at the end your desired new line method. And then pretty much from there, you just return a string. And this is using the URL function, or class for that matter. And I'll just briefly show you in a find domain method I've got in here, so I don't have to come back to it later. So there's URL.split, and you know the double slash before the semicolon? see it gets array length of that. If it equals 2, then it splits it. And the protocol is 1. The split domain is 2. Protocol is 0 rather, and the domain is 1, along with the URL. So to get the to get the domain, you split number 1 at this first slash, and you specify 2, and then you should get str0. See, then this C would be the domain, just as this C would be the domain. And this C would be the protocol. I like prot instead of prot 0. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and there's basically it checks that HTML isn't empty or anything like that. And it checks in the entities class, which we were just in, to find body. Now we use, what was JSoup, was it? No, JEnco HTML. Either JSoup or JEnco HTML. One or the other. I better find out which. JSoup. So it just gets the text of the HTML. It's quite efficient too. Um, let's see, validates body so that it can like fit into the MySQL engine. See if it needs cropping or anything like that. I'll skim through the rest of it for you. Temp, which is a list of strings, equals pages, which means that this method gets the list of links from the HTML provided, and start.list will get size, and then it pastes the body to start.list to get a size, and the body, basically the link and the body, as you saw in the column, the links and bodies. And if you really wanted to, you could add how many times you've encountered that page. However, if you did add a counter, it might be wise doing it in a separate database engine, maybe SQLite, because it would add a terrible overhead on it. Anyways, then it basically, what does it do? It adds the URL from temp to list, checks if it's in the database, and adds it to the database if it's not in there already. And there's that whole GUI thing again. To update the GUI. I forget whether that was needed or not. We'll keep it in case. I don't think it was actually. Then towards the end of the sequence, it's basically this one removes the URL from the database and then adds to the already seen list and then removes it from the pending list, and that's when it's done processing it. Then it sleeps for 4.8 seconds, so that way the databases and resources can go back to 0. Bam on and remove URL, it sleeps for 560 milliseconds when using MySQL or 2 seconds when using SQLite. Because when you do insertions on databases with millions of entries, you need to sleep for a little while for insertions only, and just so that it can catch up on the right performance. Yeah, it goes there. I'll actually set that to 1. That's what was using it. And so yeah, I'll see if with the modifications I've made whether it launches at all. That's not the one, but there we go. This may take a little while because the database is getting quite big. There again, there's MySQL, there's SQLite. And now we have it. That's pretty much it. Let's show you the old revision. And something gets slow, so let's make a new revision of this. Export. Dun dun. See, it's going a bit faster now. Now there's at sleep 1.2 seconds. I don't know what does it, but it just does. Anyways, that's pretty much it. And hope to see you sometime in the near future. See ya.